And we're back for another season of Mark Rogers TV's College Football Predictions. It is week one, finally here. Thursday night, we've got a couple football games of note. We are going to predict the top 25 throughout the season. If this is the first time that you've joined us for our predictions throughout the campaign, we pick all the top 25 games, so even if it's Austin Peay versus Georgia, I'm going to make a prediction. And yes, is that a gimme in terms of my straight-up money line record? It is. That's why I select over 80% correct, is because I pick all the games. On the other hand, the point spread is more difficult, of course, as you know. So we pick both the money line and against the points. All right, last season, in picking all the top 25 games, plus I'll select some other games that are of note. If, let's say, Notre Dame's playing North Carolina State and neither team is ranked, but I still think it's a relevant game, a game of interest, I will select it. I am doing so with Northwestern and Purdue this weekend. It's the highlighted game on ESPN to launch the season. I'm going to select it even though neither team is ranked in the top 25. All right, last season, 219 right, 73 wrong. That's straight up against the money line, and that's not even one of my better seasons. But I can almost guarantee that I'm going to pick 80% correctly against the money line, straight up. It happens every year. Usually I'm more in the 82 or 83 percentile. Last year, 219 correct, 54 wrong. That's 80.2%. All right, against the spread, that's what most of you want to hear. That is something that I started to do about 7 or 8 years ago. I have predicted college football games my entire life, and you don't need to guess how old I am. It's been a long, long time. So I predicted college football games my entire life, NFL games my entire life. It's just a hobby. I'm not a handicapper. I'm not an odds maker. I don't do a ton of research. I basically made these predictions that you're going to hear in about 45 seconds. Now, as the season moves along and there's more research and there's more score comparison and there's more factors to consider, trap games, letdown games, possible. I don't buy into that as much as a lot of people do. Injuries, matchup issues, even though one team is better overall than another team, maybe it's a bad matchup for them. Those things are taken into consideration as trends start to build, although in only 12 games of a college football season, there aren't a whole lot of trends to latch onto to be guaranteed of. As Lou Holtz once famously said, a different team shows up every week. So sometimes you got to play the percentages, and I do it pretty well according to the lines. So against the spread last season, 155 right, 114 wrong against the spread. That's 57.6%. Vegas tells us that if you pick anywhere between 52 and 53% right, somewhere in that range, about 52.3%, I think is the last figure I saw, 52.3%, then you start to make money. Typical play in Vegas, as you guys, many of you know that follow this stuff, that if you lay down $100 against the spread, the typical money line payout on that game is negative 110 for the favorite, meaning you have to lay down $110 to make $100 if you're betting on the favorite. Or betting either way, because that's typically the way they split it down the middle against the spread is negative 110, minus 110. So you have to lay down 110 to make $100 net. And on the flip side, if you're selecting an underdog, a slight underdog, and it's plus 110, if you lay down $100, you're going to make net $110 with the win. I didn't intend on going through the whole gambling aspect of it. These are just for fun, and we're going to lay them out there. But I've been doing them a long time, and for 7 or 8 years against the spread, my goal is always 60% against the spread. And that's picking all the games. I'm not selecting like 2 or 3 games every week. That's against the spread, all the top 25 games, plus the games of interest that I select. So that's a bit difficult to do. 60%, that's a very high goal. We strive for excellence here at Mark Rogers TV, and 60%, go out there and find somebody at 60%, and they're usually crunching numbers for 60 hours a week. That's their job. 57.6% last week. I'm usually somewhere between 53 and 55%. Last year was a pretty good year. I have done better than 57.6, but on a rare occasion. All right, here are the games on Thursday and Friday night. These are the only games I've looked at. I'll have to cut a video or maybe on the live stream on Saturday morning between 10 and noon. Before the noon kickoffs, I will release my predictions then. We've got Central Florida, of course, the darlings of 2017. Mackenzie Milton back at the controls. Josh Heupel in place of Scott Frost. We know the deal with the Knights of Central Florida. Traveling to UConn to take on Randy Edsall in his second season there for his second stint at the school, taking on UConn. All right, 23.5 is the spread. Central Florida is going to win the game, and they're going to win it in a big way. Look for something in the 38-10 range. Central Florida wins over UConn. They cover the 23.5 points. We've got Northwestern and Purdue, the highlighted game, 8 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN. Northwestern-Purdue, difficult to project. Two somewhat evenly matched teams. Northwestern, the better team last season. Both teams sustaining substantial losses. Personnel losses. I've just released my preview and prediction videos for each team. Please check those out. And Clayton Thorson's status uncertain. Regardless, I'll have to go with Northwestern in this game. They're getting 2 points on the road. Evenly matched. You would think the home team, of course, would have a slight advantage. Vegas usually lays that around 3 points. I like Northwestern in this game. Less personnel losses. Purdue really took a hit on defense, and that's where they really showed up last year and improved, was on defense. I expect the offense to be better under Jeff Brom. It was the defense that led them to 7 wins last year. Northwestern wins at Purdue. Take the 2 points. All right, on Friday night, we've got a couple Big Ten matchups out of conference against the group of 5 as Michigan State takes on Utah State and Wisconsin hosts Western Kentucky. For Michigan State, they, of course, have the 20 or 21 starters back. They are a 23.5 point favorite against Utah State. I like Michigan State in a struggle for about a half to break loose, to break free, to tack on late touchdowns, and to defeat Utah State by more than 23.5. So lay the 23.5 and take Sparty. For the Badgers, sure, they could come out as they have many seasons and taken on the likes of the group of 5 and just run them off the field. 52-6, 55-10. Those type of scores. Wisconsin, going back to the Brett Bielema days, has a long line of them. This one, not so much. I like Western Kentucky to keep it close enough. It's 36.5. Wisconsin wins the game straight up. Western Kentucky plus the 36.5 points. Now we finalize our predictions on Friday night with a revenge game. Stanford hosting San Diego State. The Cardinal went to the land of the Aztecs last year, and Rashad Penny ran wild, and San Diego State pulled off the upset.